So our first news items we can ever remember. This one was written by Dave. Great idea. I really dig this idea because I had to think about it too. So what you're saying, Dave? It's the very first news story you can ever remember hearing.
Memorable story, and then it could even be a few stories just because around that time, when you're a kid, when you're a toddler, kind of thing, and you can remember something.
So I'll go first. Sure. I remember this driving somewhere.
I'm sure we'll have duplicates, just because we're all around the same age.
Too,
but that's
probably.
Cool. Yeah.
But with my parents, and I'm just going to get a date on this just to make sure. Yes, it was the summertime, and I believe we were probably going to my grandma and grandpa's house in Kelowna, and I was 6 years old. August 16th, 1977.
Uh-oh.
Anybody remember that date? The newspaper, Elvis Presley has died.
August 16th, 1977.
And I remember my mom reading the paper in the front seat as we were driving, and she was really bummed out. She said, I always wanted to see Elvis. I was hoping to see him someday. Yeah. And I remember her saying that. I remember thinking, wow, Elvis is dead, because I still knew, even at 6 years old, who Elvis Presley was. So that was one of my first that I can legit remember.
Some people say Elvis isn't even dead, actually. So
Living Color
did, yeah.
Elvis is dead. Elvis is dead. Yeah, a great tune, by the way. So that's one of my first ones. So that's me.
Well, let me take it from there, because mine is similar, and I'm sure you guys all remember this too. But mine was December 8th, 1980, which you guys probably. And was the death of John Lennon. That's really probably the first one I remember. I would have been 7 years old at that time, but I remember my mom hearing about it or whatever, and she came, down the stairs and was like pretty upset, and we're talking about it and stuff like that too. And my parents were just such huge Beatles fans that it was part of my culture too, even growing. Although I didn't understand it the way I do now, where I'm obsessed and just like know everything about them and. The characters of them all, but still, and the fact that it was John too is really kind of crazy too, but that's one of the first ones I remember just going, wow, that's
the ultimate. That was the ultimate one. Yeah. Like that was such a burn too. And it was just hit everybody. I just remember being, that's not my first, but just because you brought that up, 1980, December 8th, it was also my mom's birthday, and we're having a birthday party. Too. Right,
really,
and we're having a birthday party at
Chad's mom.
Okay, sorry. And that'd be so funny if I just keep trying to tell the story. You're like, no, Uncle
Corey Taylor,
Uncle Craig Skrinick.
So go ahead.
Anyway, so I'm in the old kitchen, and I just remember it's my mom's birthday party, and my older sister, came running in. John Lennon's been killed. And it's like, and it was just so. End of the innocence for your age, because my first memory was Elvis's funeral. I do remember watching it at my grandparents' on a TV and seeing all the Cadillacs and everything and all that and thinking, wow, it's crazy, someone's dead or whatever. But the Lennon thing was just, I would have been 8, and it just, it was like, boom, it was like, oh, this just sucks. Like and we were all listening to the Beatles back then. We knew who the Beatles were at 8 back then, because Yellow Submarine and certain songs that you loved as children that you could relate to.
I remember it too, because I was super into the Beatles at that point in time, because as you guys know, like I got into them probably about 9 or 10, where I knew everything. Like I had all the books and everything like that. And I remember that after he died, I thought it was interesting, because I'm like, wow, the first Beatle is dead. And there was all these special magazines that came out. Like if you went to like Bigelow's, like the Gloves' mom's place, the magazine rack was like every thing was like Beatles special edition, Beatles this, Beatles that. And the crazy thing is, at the time, the Beatles really weren't very popular, because I remember being in grade 6 at Robert Browning Elementary School, and I got a Beatles shirt made from a newspaper clipping. I clipped the picture out and got one of those shirts
iron-on.
Yeah.
And there was these 3 chicks that I used to hang out with. They were like kind of like nerdy chicks. They weren't hot, but they loved the Beatles and me. And all the other chicks were into like Little River Band and freaking Loverboy and Journey, whatever you get on a Cahill album. And as crazy as that sounds, the Beatles were not cool in 1980.
No.
Even though it was only 10 years after they broke up. Now that seems unfathomable to even suggest that the Beatles weren't cool, but they weren't. And when John died, I think that jarred a lot of people to remember once in a lifetime. You can never duplicate it. So in a lot of ways, his death probably helped remind people how genius the Beatles were.
Yeah, for sure. And definitely drew attention to Double Fantasy too, right? Like
that came out the same day, right? Or the day before, whatever it was.
No way, did it really? I didn't even know that. What a great album.
It came out, isn't that what we won't mention his name was trying to get signed, I believe, was the Double Fantasy album.
He did get it signed earlier in the day.
Well, maybe I could be wrong. Could be the other.
No, Dave. He got it signed early in the day and came back and shot John later that night.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The Mark Chapman, right?
Yeah.
Which is funny because he did sound for Dave and I at the Park Theater.
That's true. Yeah, that wasn't a good, and that wasn't. It was not a great show because we were jinxed. No, he's a great guy.
There's literally one of the best sound guys in Winnipeg.
Yeah. No, he was fantastic.
Sorry, Double Fantasy. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Mark Chapman at the theater is a great guy, not the killer. Go ahead.
Different, no relation. Chuck Berry, no relation.
Chuck Berry, no relation. Great call. Double Fantasy was released November 17th, and John was shot December 8th.
Yeah,
so literally less than 3 weeks later.
Yeah, I thought it was somewhere around there.
Yeah. So
what a great album, man! Amazing.
Yeah.
Don't forget though, half of it's Yoko tunes also.
I mean, I made a list of just.
I love it now.
I made a list of a few topical things that I think you guys probably remember. Well, I just made a tiny little
Cahill
list.
from FUBAR?
Yeah. Figured hanging out with my bros, which I don't like the term bros, but hanging out with my friends, and maybe we'll talk about the Cold War. Kind of like get into some really good deep stuff. Cold War, 1979 to 85. There was a time there that we thought we were going to get nuked by Russia, and they were telling you in elementary school kind of the old hide under the desk and stuff. It was just a stupid, weird time. And there was a real threat, actually, back then. And then the Terry Fox thing, when Terry Fox died.
Wow, that's a good call. That's a good call.
Yeah.
Explain a little bit about who Terry Fox was for our listeners here from the United States.
Terry Fox was a kid who had been diagnosed with cancer and made it his legacy and goal to try to raise as much money for it as he could. I don't remember what type of cancer he had, but he was running all the time, sick, going through cancer treatment, and this is like 1980.
Dude, he lost his leg. On, you're missing a big point.
Yeah, not only was he running,
he lost his leg to cancer. He was running with one leg.
Don't take a soundbite out of that, anyone.
You kind of left out the most important part.
Well,
right? He ran across Canada with one leg.
Well, I forgot, man.
Well, Dave, Dave finds that offensive because he's a robot.
But you're right. But I mean, no. I mean, it's a beautiful thing, and I was very emotional when I talked about it. I forgot that he had like an artificial.
I think you're getting him confused with Forrest Gump.
You guys are just
and it's a little bit. Terry Fox is a different guy. He
did a lot for cancer. He raised a lot of money, and he was, and he ended up dying in June 28th, 1981. So I do remember that.
Oh, that was brilliant.
Well, it's not brilliant. I mean, it's like we love him, and he's a big Canadian icon to the show.
Run, Terry, run! That was the big commercial.
Okay.
Run, Terry, run! They had a commercial that the dude literally ran across Canada.
Yeah.
And by the way,
hero.
No disrespect to the States. Canada's like 3 times the size of the States.
Yeah.
So Terry Fox ran from like Newfoundland all the way to Vancouver, and everyone was pulling for him to make it because he was sick. Like he had cancer. He had his leg amputated. They gave him a fake leg. He ran all the way across the country, and he passed away. Do you have it pulled up, Dave? He passed away.
Yeah, he was in 1981. Yeah,
81, and he
June 28th. Yeah, and the whole country was pulling for this guy, and it was on TV constantly. So it was a huge.
He did make
deal.
it across the country, though. Yeah.
I don't think he did. He stopped in Thunder Bay. There's a big statue there, but he almost did. He kicked ass. That's for sure.
But by the way, did you know he was a Winnipegger?
No, I don't think so. Is he?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was born in Winnipeg, Manitoba.
Wow.
But maybe he moved somewhere and lived somewhere else.
It doesn't matter. He was born in Winnipeg.
Doesn't matter. Born in Winnipeg.
Most people are born here and they move somewhere.
Yeah, and they move somewhere else. But yeah, rest in peace, Terry Fox. And that was a big thing for us kids, for sure.
His leg is still here. Oh, too soon?
Too soon? Yeah. You're gonna get beaten to death by the Terry Funk's robotic leg in your sleep tonight.
Canceled.